Cancer, is that you? Hi, it's December 2020, Dadhichi here with your monthly forecast. Thanks for joining me. It's the last month of the worst year on memory, and I guess you want to hear something fruitful, something positive and uplifting. And in fact, we may be able to give you that this month because there's some pretty dynamic and important things going on in the chart. Definitely very, very transformative for you. This month especially, the solar eclipse, that's taking place in the 6th house of your horoscope. The solar eclipse takes place on the 15th of December. And the 6th house is an important house because it has to do with your work routine. It has to do with your diet and your health and your well-being. And so the eclipse throws a great deal of light on this area of your life. We see the 5th house behind that, is also very positive, creatively positive, and amorously positive as well, with Mercury and Venus both jointly transiting this area of your horoscope. Let me get my glasses on, I'll get a little bit more. There you are. The 5th house Venus, as we can see here, is strongly connected to your friendships. That's why I mentioned there's an amorous tone to that. And Venus is there up until the 16th, the day after the eclipse. So there's a couple of very important things happening right in the middle of the month for you. And that planet, along with Mercury too, because we see Mercury also making its way into Sagittarius there in the very early part of the month, on December 2nd, and speeding through that area of your horoscope into your 7th house of Capricorn on December 21. So there's a lot of change of sign going on, but getting back to that 6th house, Venus and Mercury transiting there, along with the Sun, along with that solar eclipse. Your rule of the moon is part of that eclipse. So it has to be a pretty important convergence of energy. So this is the first point I'd like to make this month. Getting your health together, getting back into some sort of routine where you start to listen more to your body's signals. What is your body saying to you? And by the way, that 6th house has a lot to say about the way in which you work. So one's health can also be augmented or downgraded, if I could use that term, via the methodology, the way in which you work, the attitude that you take into your work. That also has some other connotations which relate to the people you work with, the way in which you work with those people. All of these areas, I think, need to be carefully checked. And I think you'll be doing a revision in this last month of the year based upon what has happened earlier in the year, depending on who you are. But certainly for those of you born under the sign of Cancer, the crab, the 6th house will bring your attention fairly and squarely to these matters. In Western astrology, the 6th house also has a lot to do with your debts, the way in which you repay debts, getting yourself into debt. So looking at that is important. And there's another component of that which I think has already been underway for some time, and that's the triple conjunction of Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto. We've talked about that being in your 7th house, but the second very important transit this month, well, there's a cluster of them. That's the first one on the 17th, Saturn moving out of your marital sector, definitely taking the pressure off your one-on-one relationships. Then Jupiter leaving that debilitation area, because the sign of Capricorn is your marital and partnership sector. Jupiter there has been a little bit uncomfortable in the last 12 months, but that's also moving on the 19th. Saturn and Jupiter to your 8th house. That is the house of money. That's why I wanted to say, to carry on from this 6th house stuff that's going on, that Sagittarian eclipse, and brings you into a more focused approach to the way you're banking, the way you're saving, the way you're balancing your debts with your income. All of those sorts of financial matters are going to be a big, big focus for you throughout 2021. And you're seeing the beginning of that right now at the tail end of 2020. The other important conjunction, which only takes place once every 20 years, and certainly only once every, I think maybe 300 years or so, in this exact sign, is the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. They are coming together. These two diametrically opposed planets are going to be playing out in that 8th house area of your horoscope. Now, apart from the material aspects of this has a lot to say about the intimacy that you enter into with your partnerships. We've seen those two planets playing out heavily in the overt, outer, more sort of visible part of your relationship, but now it's going to go into the deeper part of your relationship, the intimacy parts, the sexual parts, those psychological parts that play out, those parts that are tense, combative, incompatible. You're going to have an opportunity to work on that. And of course, the important thing with this, and I want you to focus on this part of it, is not so much the relationship you're having with other people, but the relationship you're having with yourself. And I think if you can just meditate on that a little bit as you're moving into the new year, it's going to really, really make a big difference to how you cope, how you come out the end of 2021. You're setting the groundwork, the foundation for a deeper understanding of yourself, a deeper understanding of your relationships. I wish you a Merry Christmas. It's been wonderful having your company. All of you have been very supportive. I appreciate you coming here and listening to me ramble every month. I hope it's a grand new year. I'll be back for the new year. In the meantime, don't forget, duck on over to astrology.com.au. Later in the month, I'm going to have the yearly synopsis, around 3,000 words for each of you. I'm working frantically on that to get the 100,000 words done. They'll be up, and you'll get to see what's happening in the next 12 months. Fingers crossed it's going to be a lot better than what 2020 was. Thanks again. Take care. Stay safe.